What would you say if you had to have one biggest concern around this vote on the 29th? Because there was a vote in 2015 when David Cameron was Prime Minister and it didn't pass through. But now we're at a different time. You could argue there's more kind of, if you want to use the word progressive people in Parliament, it looks like it's going to pass. What's your biggest concern around that?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know whether it's going to pass. There's a very large number of Labour MPs, and you say this is a progressive course. I fail to understand
Quote unquote.
why it is,
Yeah.
but that's a point of view, I
Mm.
suppose. It's progressive, and we know that the leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister is in favour of it. It's a private member's bill, so normally private member's bill will not succeed without government time, and it also measures to restrict the amount of debating and allow a guillotine, which is essentially the speaker is able to say once people will have limited amounts of time to speak, and then there will be a vote at the end of this day. Whereas with most private members' bills, all but that don't have those that don't have government support, you can effectively talk them out. You can debate for lengthy period without restrictions, and if the debate hasn't finished by the time there comes to be a division, then the bill is effectively talked out, and that happens to most private members' bills. You might ask, is this a suitable bill for a private member's bill rather than a government bill, without the kind of added scrutiny that happens before the bill is put to Parliament and the greater transparency and all of that? And you might ask why Keir Starmer saw fit to honour his promise to Esther Ransom, which is the only real justification he's given for supporting this bill, which was not in the government manifesto, and give it that support. Those are procedural arguments, but procedural arguments of some importance, because how we make legislation and how much scrutiny they have are obviously crucial in an informed and representative democracy. So what's the main concern? Well, for me, it is simply that it is a fundamental change for the state to authorise people intentionally to kill. Now, the state has always, when it bans murder and intentional killing, had exceptions and defences. It has most obviously the defence of self-defence, which includes the defence of others. But that's not a recognition that it's somehow acceptable to kill. It's not. It's simply because the intention of a person when they are defending themselves is to defend their own life, or to defend other people's lives. And that applies as much to police officers as to anyone else. We've just seen a police officer who was tried for murder and acquitted by jury, and that happens not infrequently. It's the same law for the police as it is for everyone else. Obviously, the factual circumstances will be different, which might mean that defence is more obviously available to a police officer who is facing somebody who he knows or does or might have a gun. But that's not so that defence does not break the importance of the sanctity of human life, and that's, to use a religious phrase, but the importance and the fundamental importance of the state protecting it is not affected by that, and nor is it affected by having offences parallel to murder, such as I said, infanticide, assisted suicide, because those recognise the lower culpability, but still the life is still protected by the state. The fundamental difference here will be effectively the state will be authorising another person to kill an individual. And once you cross that barrier, that's a very significant threshold, which will have very significant moral, ethical, and practical consequences. That, for me, is the most important problem.